Why Eddie Howe's shock exit leaves Newcastle in shambles. How oversaw Newcastle's first domestic trophy in 70 years but leaves with the Saudi project facing stagnation. Once again, Eddie Howe can be bracketed alongside two of Tyneside's favourite faces. This time, however, it is in less enviable fashion. Sir Bobby Robson and Kevin Keegan left Newcastle suddenly in late summers, decisions seemingly taken at the wrong time plunging them into transition and trouble. At least, unlike a couple of distinguished predecessors, Howe has gone before a season has started and not after a few games, but it is less than 4 weeks before it begins, following a 4-1 friendly defeat to Bristol City, when it seems the team Howe built is falling apart. Howe was a transformative and terrific Newcastle manager, but the danger is his 5-year reign comes to be the anomaly in their recent history, a period of achievement surrounded by underachievement. Howe did something even Robson and Keegan could not and took a trophy to Tyneside, Newcastle's first since 1969, their first in English football in 7 decades. Go back 17 months, to the day they won the Carabao Cup, and Howe was asked about getting his own statue at St James Park. With characteristic modesty, he deflected the questions. Was he was asked, a legend? "We don't put ourselves in that bracket," he said. "We will let other people decide that when we are long gone." Now he is gone, from Howe's perspective, there may be a relief that a burden is lifted. His probable replacement, Matthias Gisel, will inherit a host of problems, few of them created by Howe, many of them making his task increasingly hard in the last year. Results show the downturn. Newcastle lost 6 of their last 9 league games last season, 9 of 17. They were beaten home and away by Sunderland. A Champions League campaign that had been heartening came to an ignominious end with a 7-2 walloping by Barcelona. Howe had constructed a side with an identity. Yet even as he restored the sense there was something special about Newcastle, perhaps it was not enough for players, both those he had and those he coveted. Newcastle had the tag of the world's richest club, but they could not spend as such and lacked the allure that wealth was supposed to bring. With Howe leaving, it is easy to envisage Bruno Guimaraes going to Arsenal now, a 4th departure of a high-class player in under a year, following Alexander Isak, Anthony Gordon and Sandro Tonali. Their combined proceeds will be around £370 million, a reminder that Howe often improves players, but is also leaving a gaping hole in the side. He could wish Elliot Anderson was still around to occupy their void in midfield, but the PSR enforced sale of the Geordie in 2024 looks one of the major issues the Newcastle hierarchy have botched in recent years, the delayed departure of Isak, who Howe would probably have rather left earlier. Last summer is another case in point, lucrative as it was. But the departures have been compounded by the lack of arrivals, or not the right ones, anyway, given that Newcastle spent £250 million last summer. Until then, Howe had an outstanding record in the transfer market, but only Malik Thiaw of the 2025 influx was a success. Then this summer has proved a continuation of last. Elite players have kept turning Newcastle down, Victor Munoz and Johan Manzambi this summer, a host of forwards who would have been a better fit than Nick Woltermaid or Yoane Wisser last year. Now, seeing how Newcastle have unravelled, the probability is that Hugo Ekitike, Benjamin Sesko and João Pedro do not regret their choices. In the post-mortem of Howe's regime, the dropped £125 million double act of Woltermaid and Wisser figure prominently. So does Isak, the man who scored at Wembley against Liverpool to secure that silverware but then provided the beginning of the end when he eyed the exit. Before then, Howe constructed a formidable side from the rubble he walked into, a club who were still winless in November, who went on to reach 2 finals, qualify for the Champions League twice, whose best was such that they could beat the top teams. Howe's Newcastle were at their best when operating at maximum intensity. They struggled more when they had to play in both England and Europe, partly due to injuries. But even within that, there was still the seminal 4-1 demolition of Paris Saint-Germain, Dan Burn flying through the Tyneside air to head in his goal. Howe was the architect of many a magnificent Street James Park night, the man from the south coast who became a hero in the northeast. Now it is up to the men from the Middle East, Gisel, who has succeeded at Al Ahly, the Saudi Public Investment Fund, the owners who have preferred to keep their counsel, and their representatives at St James Park, sporting director Ross Wilson and CEO David Hopkinson. But at times in the last year, It seemed that only Howe was holding Newcastle together. His exit leaves them looking like a shambles. Thanks for watched. Goodbye.